Hey everyone, hope you're all well. Welcome back to our channel, and in today's video we are diving into a topic that's really crucial for all developers: debugging tips and tricks for web developers. Whether you're a seasoned coder or just starting out your coding journey, we will encounter those pesky bugs and issues in our web projects. In this video, we'll equip you with the strategies and techniques you'll need to navigate the labyrinth of web development, squash bugs, and optimize your code. So grab your code editor and let's embark on our journey through the world of debugging. Let's get started. So what actually is debugging? It's essentially a process of identifying and fixing errors in your code. It can be a challenging task, but it's really essential for creating high quality and reliable web applications that people will use over and over again. There's also different types of errors that can occur, including syntax errors, and this is referencing errors when the code is not written in a way that the browser or server can understand. Then there's logical errors, and this happens when the code is written correctly but it doesn't actually produce the desired results. And this error and runtime errors occur when the code is running and something unexpected happens, like a user entering invalid data or a network connection failing. To debug web applications, developers use a variety of tools and techniques. Some common debugging tools include browser consoles, which allow developers to view an error warnings that occur while a web page is loading. Debuggers will allow developers to step through their code line by line, inspect each variable, and set breakpoints to stop the code at specific points. And logging. So logging allows developers to record events that occur when their code is running, and this information can be helpful for tracking down and fixing errors as well. Debugging is an essential skill for web developers, and by learning how to debug effectively, developers can save themselves a lot of time and frustration and create higher quality web applications. So the first type of platform that we can use for debugging is browser controls. So this is a browser control here, browser console. And browser consoles are really powerful for debugging web applications. They allow developers to view errors and warnings that occur while a web page is loading or executing. Consoles allow developers to interact with the page's code and inspect variables. You can typically press Ctrl-Shift-J on Windows to open the browser console, and on Mac you're probably going to need to type Command-Op-J on Mac. And this will open a new panel. Depending on where the settings are, it can open here, on the right side, on the left side, up, down, or it might even be a separate window altogether. But essentially opens a new panel that will have the browser console and the number of features that it has for debugging. So it has things like the error log, and the error log will log any errors that occur while the page is loading, and this helps developers identify the root cause of problems. There is a code evaluation that allows developers to evaluate code snippets, and this can be useful for testing out potential solutions to problems or for inspecting the state of the page's code. There is variable inspection. This allows developers to interact with the values in the variables of the page code, and this is useful because it can help identify the cause of errors and understanding why the code isn't working. And you can also set breakpoints in the page's code, and this will pause execution and allow the developer to inspect the state of the code at that breakpoint. In addition to these features, browser consoles have a number of debugging features, such as ability to log messages, profile performance, and clear browser cache. Some tips for using browser console for debugging: you want to use the console to log messages. This can be helpful for tracking down the root cause of problems. You want to use the console to evaluate code snippets to test out potential solutions, and you also want to use the console to inspect variables to identify the cause of errors, understanding how the code is working. Use it to set breakpoints, and use the console to profile your performance as well. Browser consoles are really powerful and can be used to debug web applications of all sizes. By learning how to use the console effectively, you can save yourself a lot of time and frustration as well. By learning how to use the console effectively, you can save yourself a lot of time and frustration. Next up is debuggers, and debuggers are another powerful tool for debugging web applications. They allow developers to step through their code line by line, inspect variables, and set breakpoints to stop the code at specific points. Debuggers are typically available as part of an integrated development environment, so an IDE, like Visual Code Studio or IntelliJ. However, there are also standalone debuggers available, like Chrome DevTools. To use a debugger, developers typically need to start the web application in debug mode, and this will tell the debugger to attach itself to the application and start monitoring execution. Once the debugger is attached, developers can use it to step through their code line by line, and this can be helpful for identifying the exact line of code that is causing an error. Debuggers also allow developers to inspect the values of variables at any point in the code's execution, and this can be helpful for understanding how the code is working and identifying the cause of errors. Another important feature of debuggers is the ability to set breakpoints, and breakpoints are markers that tell the debugger to stop the code at a specific time. That way you can identify the exact line of code that's causing an error for inspecting the state of the code at a specific point. So Visual Studio Code, or VS Code, is a popular code editor and IDE for building and debugging web applications, and it's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So what's really cool about VS Code is that it has an inbuilt debugger, and it allows you to step through your code line by line, inspect variables, set breakpoints, etc. And it also supports a number of other features like conditional breakpoints to allow you to stop the code at a specific point only if certain conditions are met. Data breakpoints to allow you to stop the code when the value of a variable changes, and you can also use exception breakpoints as well to allow you to stop the code when an exception is thrown. Once you have installed the appropriate debug extension, you can start debugging your application and step through your code line by line to see exactly where the errors are coming as well. When you're using web applications in VS Code, you want to use the breakpoints liberally. They're your best friends when re-debugging. Set breakpoints at key points in your code and step through it line by line to see what's actually happening. Use the locals and watch windows to inspect the values of variables. And use the evaluate expression box to evaluate expressions, and use the call stack to see how your code is executing. There are loads of available resources out there to help you debug your code, but VS Code is a really good one to go for whenever you are debugging your code. So now let's look at loggers, and loggers are another tool for debugging web applications. They allow developers to record events that occur when their code is running. This information can be helpful for tracking down and fixing errors. Loggers can be used to log a variety of information like error messages, warnings, informational messages, and can be configured to write log messages to a variety of destinations like files, databases, and email addresses. This means that developers can choose the logging destination that's the most appropriate for their needs. Debugging can be challenging, but it's essential for all web developers. By following the tips above, you can learn to debug your code effectively and efficiently. So now let's talk about TDD, otherwise known as test-driven development, which is a software development process that relies on the repetition of a very short developing cycle. First, the developer writes a failing unit test case, then produces a minimum amount of code to pass the test, and finally refactors the code to new acceptable standards. The process forces developers to think about the desired behavior of the code before they implement it, and this helps ensure that the code is well tested. Let's take a look at Jest, a JavaScript testing framework that can be used to help debugging and debugging your code. So when it comes to testing, you also want to think about other aspects of your website that's going to be affected. These are things like speed. You want to make sure that you're always testing for speed when you are developing a platform. So accessibility is another thing that you want to make sure that you are always testing for. And Jest is a JavaScript framework that is designed to be simple, fast, and reliable. It's one of the most popular testing frameworks for JavaScript, and it's mainly used by large companies like Facebook, Airbnb, and Google. It's very easy to use. It's also very fast at running tests because it uses a virtual DOM to render components and tests, which is much faster than rendering components in a real browser. Jest is very reliable and rarely produces false positives or negatives, and has lots of features, making it a really powerful testing framework like snapshot testing, mocking, and code coverage reporting. Jest is really powerful, it's very fast and easy to use, and we'll take a closer look at getting started with Jest as well. So you can actually start installing Jest using the command line. You just want to make sure you have Node.js installed first. First, we are going to navigate to our desktop, and we are going to make a new folder on our desktop. And we'll call it Test Jest Framework. And now let's go inside the folder, and let's just open the code file. And just open a code editor. And you'll see the code editor open our test framework. And now what we're going to do is we are going to just open a default kind of JSON package. So what we're going to do, we're going to type in npm init --y. And you can see it's created a default JSON package. You'll see when we open the JSON package here, we've got the name, version, all of that. This is just a default JSON package. It's not anything to do with Jest just yet. This is just a default JSON package. So now let's actually install Jest with the npm command, and then install D Jest. It's going to take some time, maybe about 3 minutes. So I'm just going to create a file so that after this we install it, we can see that. So I'm just going to make a new file called sum.js, and I'm just going to create a function. And just a simple kind of function to run, so we have something to test. And Jest should be installed. Nope, just a few more. Yeah. And now if you go back to JSON, and we're just going to remove this here, this no test specified, and we're actually going to replace that with Jest. So this just means that we have to run the old test cases with Jest. Now the function that we created is also ready for the test, but there's still one more file that we need to create to actually test. So we'll go up here, create one more file, we'll call it sum.test.js. So first of all, let's just type in const sum equals, and then we'll do request require actually. So that we can get the test case. Great. And then we're going to add some text here. call it test case. And we're going to add a new function. So in this parameter, and expect function as well. And here just put the sum and also add the to be. And we expect the sum to be 3 because we wrote in our sum function return 1 plus 2, which is 3. So we are just going to write the to be function to be 3. So now our basic test case is ready. And we can see how we can run it. So to run it, we go back to the command line and we do npm run test. Yep, so we need to test this one test instead of track list. The autocorrect is not great. So now let's run this again. Npm run test, and we'll run it one more time. And you can see it's working right now to test. And you just keep testing and trialing until you get the results that you need, and then you have that running continuous as well with Jest and testing that as well. So let's look at some advantages of using TDD in web development. The main one obviously being is that it does help improve the quality of your code, because it forces developers to think really carefully about the design and implementation of their code before they actually start writing it. This leads to cleaner and more modular and more testable code as well. TDD helps to catch bugs really early in the development process, which saves time and money in the long run. It gives developers a confidence that their code is working as expected. This can lead to faster development and a more positive development experience. TDD makes it easier to refactor code without introducing new bugs, and this is because the tests act as like a safety net, ensuring that the code still works after the refactoring is complete. And it can be used for documentation for the code as well. It can help other developers to understand how the code works and how to use it. TDD also helps to improve the performance of web applications because it helps developers think carefully about their performance earlier on in the development process instead of leaving it last in the testing section. It can help reduce cross-browser compatibility issues because it forces developers to test their code in multiple browsers. And it can also help improve the accessibility of web applications because it forces developers to test their code with accessibility tools as well. Overall, it's a really valuable tool for web developers that can help improve the quality and performance and accessibility of web applications. So when it comes to testing, you also want to think about other aspects of your website that's going to be affected. These are things like speed. You want to make sure that you're always testing for speed when you are developing a platform. So what is website speed? Website speed is also known as page load time or website performance. It refers to the amount of time it takes for a web page to fully load and become usable for a visitor. It's a critical factor in determining how quickly a website's content, including text, images, videos, and interactive elements, become visible and interactive to users after they click a link or enter a web address in their browser. Website speed is typically measured in seconds or milliseconds and can have a significant impact on user experience, search engine rankings, and overall business success. A fast-loading website provides several benefits. Firstly is with user experience. So faster websites can create a smoother and more enjoyable browsing experience. Users are more likely to engage with the content or stay on a site that loads quickly, reducing frustrations and bounce rates. It also has benefits to SEO. So major search engines like Google take website speed into account when determining search rankings. Faster websites are more likely to rank higher in search results, leading to increased organic traffic. Websites that load quickly tend to have a higher conversion rate, meaning more visitors take desired actions like making a purchase, signing up for a newsletter, or filling out a form. And with the rise of mobile browsing, fast-loading websites are even more crucial. Mobile users often have slower and less stable connections compared to desktop users, making speed an essential factor for retaining mobile traffic. Quick loading times contribute to a positive perception of a website or brand. Conversely, slow loading pages can negatively impact a user's perception of a business, credibility, and trustworthiness as well. Fast loading times for websites are more accessible to users with limited internet connectivity, as well as those using older devices or browsers. Website speed can be affected by various factors, including hosting quality, server response times, page design and complexity, image and video sizes as well, and the use of CDNs as well. Web developers and site owners often work to optimize website speed by using techniques such as compressing images, reducing unnecessary code, leveraging browser caching, and using effective hosting solutions to ensure a seamless and responsive user experience. So now let's talk about the different kinds of website speed, including page load time, server speed, and other relevant metrics. So first up, we have page load time, and page load time also refers to the page load speed, or simply load time. This is the total duration it takes for a web page to fully load and become usable in a user's browser. And this includes the time it takes for all the page's resources like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, images, and videos to be fetched and rendered. A faster page load time results in a more satisfying user experience, lower bounce rates, and better conversion rates. And then we have server response time, and this is often called time to first byte, or TTFB, and it measures the time it takes for a web server to respond to a user's request once they've clicked on a link or entered a URL. It includes the time required for the server to process the request and retrieve the necessary data from databases or other sources and send back their initial response. A lower server response time indicates a more efficient server and contribute to a faster page loading time. So render time is the period between when a web browser receives all necessary resources from the server and when it completes rendering the entire page, making it visible and interactive for the user. It encompasses tasks like parsing HTML, applying CSS styles, executing JavaScript, and rendering images. Optimizing render time is essential for ensuring a smoother user experience. Next up, we have First Contentful Paint, or FCP. FCP measures the time it takes for the first visual element to appear on the screen as the page loads. This could be the background text, image, or other audio files. FCP provides insight into how quickly users perceive that a page is loading, contributing to their initial impression of speed. Next up, we have Time to Interactive, or TTI. TTI measures the time it takes for a page to become fully interactive, allowing users to engage with elements like buttons, forms, and links. TTI is really crucial because users expect to be able to interact with the page as soon as it's visually loaded. Next up, we have connection metrics, and these include metrics related to the process of establishing a connection to the server, like DNS resolution time. So this is the time taken to translate a domain name into an IP address. Then you have TCP handshake time, so the time taken to establish a connection, and SSL handshake, so the time taken to establish a secure connection if that's applicable. And lastly, we have content delivery metrics. For websites using content delivery networks, or CDNs, metrics relate to CDN performance like edge server response time and cache hit rate. And all of these are really important. CDNs help distribute content across multiple servers to reduce latency and improve load times. A really popular CDN to use is Cloudflare. Cloudflare is very widely used, and it can significantly improve page loading times and enhance website performance. It offers a range of features designed to optimize content delivery, mitigate security threats, and improve the overall user experience. the way Cloudflare works is that it has essential kind of global network. So Cloudflare operates a vast network of data centers located across the world. So when you use Cloudflare, your website's content is cached and distributed across these data centers. And this means that when a user visits your website, they are served content from the nearest data center, reducing the physical distance and latency between the user and the server. And by distributing content closer to users, Cloudflare reduces that time it takes for data to travel between the user's device and the server, thus resulting in faster loading times and more responsive website as well. Other than that, Cloudflare also provides a lot of security and DDoS protection. So Cloudflare's WAF, the Web Application Firewall, helps protect your website from various online threats, including malicious bots and hacking attempts. And a secure website tends to perform better since it's not dealing with security-related disruptions. In essence, Cloudflare acts as an intermediary between your website and users, optimizing the way content is delivered, improving loading times, and enhancing security. It's really important to note that while Cloudflare can provide significant improvements in your performance, the extent of improvement can vary based on factors like your website's existing architecture, content, and geographical audience distribution. So it's not just the only thing they need to think about, but it's definitely a factor that can help. So now let's talk about website speed and user experience. So the relationship between website speed and UX and bounce rates is a really critical aspect of web design and optimization. When users first land on a web page, their first impression is heavily influenced by how quickly the page loads, and a fast page loading time creates a positive initial experience, while a slow loading page can lead to frustration and user impatience. Users are more likely to engage with the site that loads quickly, and they can start consuming content, interacting with elements, and achieving their goals without any kind of delay. Slow loading times may cause users to lose interest and abandon the site altogether. Mobile users as well, who are often on the go, rely on cellular networks, and they have even less patience for slow loading pages. Optimizing for mobile is crucial nowadays to cater for the growing segment of users. It's now one of the main ways that people come onto a site. They tend to use mobile more than desktop, so making sure that your website page and all the pages are optimized for mobile is really crucial. So with bounce rates and website speed, bounce rate is essentially the percentage of visitors who navigate away from the website after only viewing one page. A high bounce rate is often indicative of visitors leaving the site without actually engaging further. Slow loading pages can significantly contribute to high bounce rates. If users aren't met with a delay in accessing content, they might become frustrated and leave the site before exploring what it actually offers. Users have short attention spans and they expect websites to provide immediate value, so slow loading pages can test their patience and lead to them seeking alternatives. Bounce rates have a direct impact on conversion rates. If users are leaving the site without taking any actions like making a purchase or signing up, the website's overall conversion performance is affected. To mitigate the negative effects of slow loading times on bounce rates and UX, it's essential to prioritize website optimization. And again, this includes optimizing images, minifying code, leveraging browser caching, reducing server response times, and considering the use of CDNs. Regularly monitoring and testing your website performance is key to ensuring a positive user experience and lower bounce rates. So now let's talk about how website speed affects SEO. Website speed has a significant impact on your search engine optimization. Search engines like Google consider website speed as a ranking factor because they want to deliver the best possible user experience. So here's how website speed affects SEO. Google has officially confirmed that website speed is a ranking factor in its algorithm. Websites that load faster are more likely to rank higher in search engines, and Google aims to provide users with fast and relevant search results, so it rewards websites that offer better loading times. Search engines prioritize websites that provide a positive user experience. Slow loading websites frustrate users and discourage them from staying on the site or returning in the future. As a result, search engines want to promote websites that load quickly to ensure users have a smooth experience. Slow loading pages tend to have a higher bounce rate, which refers to users leaving a website after a short while. And high bounce rates can signal to search engines that the content on the page might not be relevant or the user experience is poor. Conversely, fast loading pages leads to a longer dwell time, so the time users spend on a page, indicating higher engagement and satisfaction. Search engines also allow a crawl budget to each website, which determines how often search bots crawl and index a site's page. A slow-loading website may consume more of its crawl budget on loading pages, leaving fewer resources for crawling and indexing the most important content. And with mobile devices becoming the primary way users access the internet, Google has shifted to mobile-first indexing. This means that Google primarily uses the mobile version of the content for indexing and ranking. Mobile friendliness, which includes fast loading times on mobile devices, is crucial for SEO. Core Web Vitals are a set of user experience metrics that Google considers essential for determining page experience, and these metrics include largest contentful paint, so LCP, first input delay, FID, and cumulative layout shift, CLS, which measures loading performance and it's particularly important for website speed and SEO. To improve website speed for better SEO, steps that you can consider are optimizing images, so essentially compressing images to reduce file sizes without sacrificing quality, removing unnecessary code, leveraging browser caching, and optimize server response time. So ensure that your hosting provider can respond quickly to user requests as well. By prioritizing website speed, you're not only improving user experience, but also boosting your website's chance of ranking higher in search engines, driving more traffic to your website. So let's talk a bit more on how to improve your website speed, and this involves a combination of optimizing various aspects of your website, including code, images, server configurations, and a lot more. The first thing that you want to do is conduct a speed test, and we'll talk a little bit later on how to do that, but you want to use online tools like Google PageSpeed Insights, GTmetrix, to analyze your website's current performance. These tools provide insights into what elements of your website are slowing it down. Images are often a significant contributing factor to slow loading times. Compress and resize images before you upload them to your site, and considering using modern image formats like WebP, which offers better compression without actually compromising the quality. Removing unnecessary whitespace comments and code from your CSS, JavaScript, and HTML files. This seems small, but it does reduce the file size and makes them load a lot better. Configure your server to set expiration dates for the static resources, and this allows browsers to cache these resources so returning visitors don't need to re-download them. CDNs distribute your website's content across multiple servers worldwide, and when a user requests a page, the server closest to them delivers the content, reducing latency and load times. You want to enable gzip compression on your server. This compresses your website files before sending them to the user's browser, reducing data transfer times. Ensure your web hosting server is responsive, so if you experience slower server response times, consider upgrading your hosting plan or switching to a more reliable hosting provider. For more information about some good hosting providers that are out there, we do have quite a few videos comparing different hosting providers, especially for e-commerce websites, so make sure you give that a go. Each redirect that you have adds additional time to the page load process, minimizing the use of redirects or ensuring that they are necessary for the user experience or SEO purposes. And if you're using a content management system like WordPress, consider using caching plugins. These plugins generate static versions of your pages to reduce server load times and improve load times as well. And most importantly, continually monitor your website speed using various tools and conduct regular performance tests. So it's not enough just to do it once and make improvements. You want to have a set schedule to conduct a speed test and see if there's any new issues that come up, especially if your website has lots of content on it that's constantly being uploaded and being worked on. You want to make sure that you do a speed test every so often to highlight new issues and fix them as soon as possible. Each website is unique, so the specific optimizations required can vary. It's recommended to make these changes one at a time, test the impact after each change, and keep track of your website's performance to ensure you're headed in the right direction. So speaking of conducting speed tests, there are lots of tools and applications out there to help you test it. Two of the most important ones that we're going to talk about today is GTmetrix and Google PageSpeed. So GTmetrix is a really popular web performance testing tool, and it provides detailed insights into your website's loading speed and performance. It offers a really comprehensive analysis of various aspects that impact your website speed and user experience. It combines Google's PageSpeed and Yahoo's YSlow, both of which are performance analysis algorithms, to provide a holistic view of your website speed and performance. Some key features of Google PageSpeed or GTmetrix is that it provides a page score out of 100 that evaluates your website's performance based on Google's recommendations, and this score reflects how well your website follows best practices. So to get started on how to use GTmetrix, you want to go onto gtmetrix.com, and all you need to do is enter the URL that you want to test, and you just want to click on test your site. What's really cool about GTmetrix is that you can really configure the testing environment. So for example, the default environment is that it'll test in Canada using Chrome desktop with an unthrottled connection. If you click into the change options button, now you do need to set up an account for this, but it's free. But then click into analysis options, and then what you want to do is change the test format. So you can change the location. So right now it's Canada, but you can change it to North American location, Middle East, Asia Pacific, or even the UK. And then you can test what device. So is it Chrome? Is it mobile? Is it Google Nexus? Things like that. So you can really test the device and the browser that it's using. And with what kind of connection, so 4G slow, 4G, 3G, unthrottled, things like that. And then once you're done, you just want to click on Analyze to actually test your site, and then just wait for the analysis to complete and review the results using the PageSpeed score, YSlow, loading time, waterfall chart, and all the recommendations. So as mentioned, one of the key features is the page score. You get a score out of 100 and it's graded, and it evaluates your website's performance based on Google's recommendation, and this score reflects how well your site follows best practices. The score is both the grade and the performance, and it evaluates your website performance based on Yahoo's recommendations as well. It assesses various aspects of your site, including cache settings, JavaScript and CSS optimization, and a lot more. It also has the loading time and page sizes as well. So GTmetrix displays the actual loading time of a web page and its total size in kilobytes. These metrics give you a clear idea of how fast your page loads and how much data it consumes. Then it has something called the waterfall chart, and the waterfall chart provides a visual representation of how each element on your web page loads, and it shows the sequence and timings of requests made to fetch resources like images, scripts, and style sheets. It also has performance scores by category. So tools, it breaks down your performance into categories like browser timings, connection duration, backend duration, total blocking time, things like that. And it highlights areas where your site is performing well and highlights areas where it could be improved. The tool also offers specific recommendations and suggestions for optimizing website performance. If you go into the summary tab, and what it does, it gives you issues that are currently on your website, and it also marks a priority on them if it's high priority, low priority, or medium. GTmetrix also allows you to compare the performance of multiple pages or websites side by side. In the compare section here, you can compare it with another URL. And it also offers monitoring features to regularly track your website performance over time. And as mentioned before, you can choose to test your website performance on both mobile and desktop devices, and this is really crucial considering Google's emphasis on mobile first indexing and user experience as well. So when it comes to using GTmetrix insights, focus on improving the page speed and why slow scores by addressing the recommendations provided. You want to pay attention to the waterfall chart in this tab here to clearly identify elements causing delays in loading. You want to implement the suggestions for optimizing images, scripts, and style sheets, and you want to use browser caching and leverage a CDN if you don't already to improve load times. And always regularly test your website performance and monitor improvements over time. GTmetrix is a really valuable tool for website owners, developers, and anyone interested in enhancing the website's performance and user experience. It's also free, so it makes it even more valuable. And by analyzing the insights provided by GTmetrix, you can make informed decisions to optimize your website for faster loading times and better overall experience. So next up we have Google Page Speed Insights, and this is a web performance analysis tool provided by Google themselves, and they evaluate the speed and performance of web pages. It offers valuable insights and recommendations to help improve website owners and developers' websites and help them optimize their sites for faster loading times and improved user experience. So it works very similar to Google Page GTmetrix. So you want to go onto the website and then just enter the URL that you want to test, and you just want to click on Analyze, wait for the analysis to run, and then it will then provide you with a score for both desktop and mobile. So some key features of Page Speed Insights is the performance scoring. So Page Speed Insights assigns a score to your web page based on its performance, and the scoring is given on a scale on 0 to 100, and you've got the performance scale as well. And then it also has scoring for best practices, how you're following SEO, and accessibility. And it's divided into two categories, one for mobile devices and one for desktop devices as well. PageSpeed Insights provides both field data and lab data. So field data is based on real-world user experience collected from the Chrome User Experience Report, while lab data is generated in a controlled environment, and this combination gives you insights into how real user experiences on your website. PageSpeed Insights will then identify specific opportunities listed here to improve your page performance, and these opportunities are categorized again and include suggestions like optimizing images, eliminating render blocking resources, leveraging browser caching, and things like that. The tool also provides core web vitals metrics like LCP, FID, and CLS, and these metrics help you understand how users experience your page loading times as well. So when it comes to using the page insights results, you want to pay attention to both the mobile and the desktop results as well, and just make sure that you remember that they are two separate things. A higher score indicates a better performance, and you have the performance score here. Review the opportunities section to identify specific areas for improvement, and follow the suggestions to optimize images, reduce render blocking resources, and improve response time. You want to address any diagnostic issues highlighted by PageSpeed Insights, and these issues can have a significant impact on your loading speed and user experience. And take note of the core web vitals metrics. You want to aim to improve LCP, FID, and CLS values as they directly contribute to a better user experience. As mentioned before, just like GTmetrix, with PageSpeed Insights, you want to regularly test and monitor the performance of your pages to continuously make improvements to ensure a consistent and optimized web experience. And again, the really good thing about PageSpeed Insight is that not only do you get a score for performance, but you also get a score for best web practices, accessibility, and SEO. And each of these categories, they'll also give you opportunities for improvement as well. So definitely a good thing to check out while you are testing the performance as well. Google PageSpeed Insights is a valuable tool for optimizing your website's performance according to Google's best practices, and it's also free. So by addressing the recommendations and insights provided by PageSpeed Insights, you can create faster loading pages that deliver an enhanced user experience and contribute to better search engine rankings. So accessibility is another thing that you want to make sure that you are always testing for. So what is website accessibility? Website accessibility refers to the inclusive design and development of websites and web content so that people with disabilities can perceive, understand, navigate, and interact with them effectively. The goal of website accessibility is to ensure that all users, regardless of their abilities, can access and use websites without facing barriers or limitations. When a website is accessible, it accommodates a wide range of disabilities, including visual, auditory, motor, and cognitive impairments. Some examples of disabilities that website accessibility addresses are visual impairments. So people who are blind or have low vision may use screen readers or other assistive technologies to navigate the website. Website accessibility ensures that all information is presented in a way that can be understood audibly or through alternative formats like Braille. Deaf or hard of hearing users may also rely on captions or transcripts for multimedia content. Accessible websites provide these alternatives to ensure equal access to audio information. Users with motor impairments might navigate websites using specialized keyboards or other adaptive devices. An accessible website should be navigable without requiring precise mouse movements or rapid keystrokes. People with cognitive challenges may benefit from simplified language, clear headings, and consistent navigation to comprehend and interact with content effectively. And individuals with conditions like epilepsy may be sensitive to certain visual or auditory stimuli, and accessibility guidelines aim to minimize potential triggers. Website accessibility is not only a moral imperative to create a more inclusive digital environment, but it's also mandated by laws and regulations in many countries. For example, in the US, the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, and the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, so the WCAG, provide standards and guidelines for website accessibility. Web developers can follow these guidelines and use various accessibility testing tools to ensure that their websites meet the required necessary criteria, making the internet a more accessible and equitable space for all users. So let's talk a little bit about the WCAG. As mentioned before, the WCAG essentially provide a comprehensive set of guidelines for making digital content accessible to people with disabilities. These guidelines are organized into 4 main principles, each with its own set of success criteria. First up, we have that the content should be perceivable. So this is things like providing text alternatives for non-text content, i.e. images, providing captions and other alternatives for multimedia, create content that can be presented in different ways without losing information, make text content readable and understandable. You also want to make sure that content is operable, and by this it means making sure all functionality is available from a keyboard, provide users enough time to read and use content, don't use content that causes seizures or physical discomfort, and provide ways to navigate, find content, and determine where they are. It's also important for content to be understandable, and that means making sure that the text content is readable and understandable, making sure web pages appear and operate in predictable ways, and help users avoid and correct mistakes. And lastly, the content must be robust. So essentially you want to maximize compatibility with current and future user agents and trends, including assistive technologies. Within each of these principles, there are specific success criteria that provide detailed guidelines for making content accessible. Some examples of these criteria include ensuring that images have descriptive alt text, providing captions and transcripts for videos, using sufficient color contrast for text and background, ensuring that all functionality can be accessed using a keyboard, and providing clear, consistent headings for content structure. These are just a few examples, and there are many more success criteria under each principle. The WCAG guidelines are designed to be adaptable to different technologies and are meant to provide a comprehensive framework for ensuring digital accessibility for people with disabilities. It's important to note that the WCAG has different levels of conformance. There's A, which is the lowest conformance, AA, intermediate, and AAA, which is the highest. A lot of organizations aim to achieve at least level AA conformance to provide a more inclusive online experience, but achieving level AAA conformance can be challenging and may not be feasible in all cases. So how can we check a website for accessibility? It involves a combination of automated testing, manual evaluation, and user feedback. So here are some steps that we can take to assess a website's accessibility. First up is automated testing. So using online tools and checkers to automatically scan the website for common accessibility issues. Some popular tools include Wave Web Accessibility Evaluation Tool, Axe Accessibility Testing Tools, and A-Checker. These tools provide reports highlighting potential accessibility structures like missing text, improper heading structure, and color contrast problems as well. However, automated tools may not catch all the issues, so manual testing is always essential. Next thing that you want to do is familiar yourself with WCAG guidelines. So get acquainted with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines and their success criteria, and this will help you understand what constitutes good accessibility. Aim for at least level AA conformance, provide a solid baseline of accessibility, and if you can, where possible, you aim for AAA conformance. It's always good to perform manual evaluation on various aspects of your website using the WCAG guidelines as a reference. This involves testing keyboard navigations, headings, links, forms, and multimedia elements. Ensure images have descriptive alt text that conveys the purpose and content, and verify that color contrast meets accessibility and standards to make text readable for all users. Confirm that interactive elements are operable with the keyboard, and manually perform these checks as much as possible. It's also good to test with assistive technologies, screen readers like NVDA or VoiceOver, and other assistive tech to experience your website from the perspective of users with disabilities. You want to pay attention to how these technologies interpret your content and interact with your site's features. It's also good to engage real users with disabilities, so essentially invite individuals with disabilities to test your website and provide feedback on their experience. Their insights can really uncover usability issues and accessibility barriers that you might not have identified. You also want to prioritize user experience. So accessibility is about creating an inclusive user experience. Ensure that your website is not just technically accessible, but also intuitive and user-friendly for all types of visitors. Accessibility is an ongoing commitment, so regularly test and update your website for new content and features to maintain its accessibility. Any issues that come up, you want to address them promptly and keep improving your site's accessibility over time. If you have a development team, educate them about accessibility best practices. Encourage them to follow accessible coding techniques during development as well. Keep track of the accessibility improvements you've made and the issues you've addressed. This documentation can be useful for future reference and audits. And lastly, stay informed. Keep up to date with changes in accessibility guidelines, standards, and best practices to ensure your website remains compliant. Remember that achieving good accessibility is an ongoing process that requires dedication, continuous learning, and a user-centered approach. By combining automated tools, manual testing, user feedback, and a commitment to improvement, you can create a website that is accessible and usable for everyone. So let's look at some online tools that we can use. There are several online tools available that can help you evaluate the accessibility of your website. Some popular options include, so first up you have the Wave Web Accessibility Evaluation Tool. Wave is a widely used tool that provides both browser extensions and an online version as well. It highlights accessibility errors and suggests improvements in real time as you navigate your website. Wave helps website owners, developers, and content creators identify accessibility issues within their web content and provides guidelines on how to fix those. Some key features include real-time feedback. So Wave offers real-time feedback on accessibility issues as you navigate your website. This allows you to see accessibility errors and improvements while interacting with your content as well. They also have browser extensions, which you can see here. They have browser extensions for Chrome, Firefox, and Edge, and they're all available for testing accessibility directly within your browser, making it easy to test any web page that you visit. In addition to browser extensions, Wave also offers an online testing tool, and all you need to do is just enter the URL up here, and then from there Wave will generate a detailed report that highlights accessibility issues in a clear and understanding manner. Each issue is marked with sort of like icons that provides more information about the problem and how to address it as well, and is all condensed down into this little kind of report as well. The tool uses icons and visual indicators to show different types of issues, like missing alt text or any redundant title text, things like that. And it also provides explanations and suggestions for how to fixing them. Using the little I, it tells you what it means, why it matters, what to do about it, and any standards and guidelines for, if there are any, for that specific problem as well. Wave can simulate keyboard navigation to help you evaluate whether your website can be fully operated using keyboard inputs, and it also supports multiple languages as well, making it accessible to users from around the world. Wave is a really good tool, and it is widely regarded as a user-friendly and reliable tool for conducting initial web accessibility assessments. It's important to note that while automated testing tools like Wave can catch a lot of common accessibility issues, manual testing and user feedback are also essential for a comprehensive evaluation. So next up we have Axe. So Axe accessibility testing tools has developed by Dig Systems and is a set of tools designed to help developers and testers identify and address accessibility issues on their websites and web applications. Axe provides automated testing solutions that integrate into various development environments and browsers, allowing for efficient and thorough accessibility testing. Some key features of Axe accessibility testing tools include browser extensions. So similar to Wave, Axe does offer browser extensions for Chrome, Mozilla, Firefox, Edge, and a lot more as well. So it's really easy to analyze web pages and receive instant accessibility feedback within your browser. It can also be integrated into various development environments as well. And then this makes it easier to incorporate accessibility testing into your development workflow. Axe also provides a command line interface that allows you to perform automated accessibility scans from your terminal. And this is particularly useful for integrating accessibility testing into your continuous integration and continuous deployment of the CI/CD pipeline. They also have web app testing. So the Axe core library can be integrated directly into your web applications, allowing you to perform accessibility checks programmatically during development. And Axe automatically scans your web pages and identifies accessibility issues based on the selected rules. It then provides that detailed report of issues, including explanations and suggestions for remedies as well. The tool categorizes issues like violations, incomplete, or pass, helping you prioritize and address accessibility issues really effectively. And Axe provides detailed reports that highlight each accessibility violation along with suggestions for fixing them. The report includes information about the rule that was violated, the affected element, and the steps to take for a resolution. Axe offers guidance and educational resources to help you understand the issues and improve your understanding of web accessibility. Axe accessibility testing tools are popular among developers and testing for their flexibility, integration options, and focus on providing actionable insights for improving a website's accessibility. And lastly, another really popular tool is A-Checker. So A-Checker, Accessibility Checker, is an online accessibility testing tool that helps evaluate the accessibility of web pages and digital content according to various accessibility standards, including Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, the WCAG, and other international guidelines. A-Checker is widely used by developers, content creators, and organizations to help identify and rectify accessibility issues on their website and online problems. Some key features include web-based testing. So A-Checker is available as an online tool, allowing you to test web pages and digital content directly from your browser without the need for installation. They also have multiple scanning options. So A-Checker offers different scanning options, including by URL, by HTML files, or by directly entering the HTML code. And that type of flexibility allows you to test various types of content. A-Checker supports accessibility standards and guidelines such as the WCAG 2.0 and 2.1, the BITV section 508, and more. You can choose the specific standard that you want to test against. The tool also incorporates a wide range of accessibility rules and checks based on the selected standards, and these rules cover different aspects of accessibility, including text alternatives, keyboard navigations, color contrast, and lots more. Unlike the previous web checkers we've seen, A-Checker also generates detailed accessibility reports that highlights issues and provides suggestions for remedies, and these reports include explanations of the issues, the severity, and the recommendations for fixing them. A-Checker allows you to customize the rules and checks applied during the evaluation, enabling you to focus on specific aspects of accessibility relevant to your project. The tool offers different views of the evaluation results, including a summary view, a detailed view, and a view that highlights the affected areas within the HTML code. AChecker provides resources and information to help users understand the accessibility issues and make informed decisions about remediation. AChecker is known for its user-friendly interface and its ability to provide viable insights into the accessibility web content. It's particularly useful for quick evaluations and preliminary access checks, and you can access AChecker on its official website as well. And that's a wrap for today's video on website accessibility checkers. We've covered the essential aspects of these tools and their roles in creating a more accessible online environment. Remember, embracing ADA compliance not only helps you avoid legal issues, but it also shows your commitment to inclusivity and diversity, which is really popular and really important in today's online world. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more insightful content. If you've ever used any of these on checkers below, or you wanted to use them now, feel free to leave your comments below, and if you have any questions as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.